Hello and welcome back. And as you guys can see, we're joined by two new faces for today's broadcast. Beautiful Crow, welcome in, and Nightmare, as you guys in the stream all know very well. And what a game we had to kick it off. Rascal Jester is taking on Sengoku, two teams that have performed pretty well so far, both 3-1, only lost to DFM. And I'm really excited. I hope you guys are as well. But let's kick it off with, how do you feel like these teams match up? You know, both on the same score, both looking good. Nightmare, I'll let you have the floor.
Yeah, obviously there's a lot to be said about the expectations for these teams, but first off I want to say congratulations on the debut, Crow. Very much looking forward to casting with you. It's going to be a great time. And I think that this is a great match to catch it up, start things off with too. Very much going to echo what you were saying, Jariel, because both of these teams are top table. I think we've seen from the first 4 games that they have only lost to DFM. That's actually very notable because DFM looked like the best team in our league right now. That doesn't mean that these are the best of the rest. They did lose those singular games, but I think with the names that they have on these lineups, both of these teams are ones which I'm expecting to see in the late stages of playoffs if it happened magically right now.
Oh yeah, great match to start. Like watching some VODs and looking back at both of these teams. Yeah, both of them only losing to DFM, so they're kind of playing who's the real second best right now. Who's the little brother in this scenario? Definitely going to be looking forward to, like, the bot lane action. I know we can touch on a little bit. That's going to be absolutely insane. Going to be a bloodbath because both of these teams like to play for a lot of kills, or they get really kill heavy games towards the end. And just looking to see who's going to edge it out right now.
Yeah, and you brought up the bot lane as well. And I want Namera to obviously talk a little bit more about that one because it does feel like a lot of the focus for this game. What are you expecting? Who are you expecting to be favoured? And is there anything that you want banned?
Oh gosh. Well, I think the two champions which are very, very obviously need to be off the table are Jinx and Aphelios because we were playing these picks in the LJL last year before they were popular, and actually one of the big reasons were both of these AD carries. Just a little stat for you. You might have heard this on broadcast before because it's really impressive. Honey, AD carry for Sengoku, was on Axis last year and was the highest damage per minute player in any player in World's qualifying regions with 722 DPM over an entire season. That is absurd. And even with those stats, arguably Sol was the MVP of the league for how important he was for Rascal Jester, the other AD carry across the rift from that. So both of these players would pick up these hyper carries, go into the late game, and absolutely smash these team fights. The meta perfectly suits that right now. We might see a trade between them and just fight fire with fire. I would love to see that, but my cooler head says maybe just ban them.
Yeah, definitely. Either I would say, yeah, just ban them, get them off the table, make them go to something else, maybe pop out the Jhin. We've been seeing that, be like defaulting, falling down the ranks. The Nami Lucian, I believe one of the teams did play it to a very high degree. So
I
Nami
think that
Lucian,
might have been Sol Secret, actually, thinking about
Soul
it
Secret,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's still to a very high degree, still very effective. Electrocute Nami makes me want to cry, not gonna lie. So that could be something to pop up on the table. I'm looking towards the mid lane because both of these two are just gonna literally be battering each other to the fountain and back. Want to see if the Rise going to be contested pick or if they're going to allow Recap to get on that Vygar because he's had 2 really, really good games on this Vygar. So definitely looking towards the mid to see if they're going to challenge anything on that.
Yeah, and we also kind of, well, you briefly brushed against it there with team fights, Rascal Jesters not necessarily had the cleanest laning phases, but they have had some really good team fight phases, and it's kind of been their moment to glory, I could say. Whereas Sengoku, I don't know if I feel as confident in them in those team fights. And do you feel like it's because of that we're going to see 2 late game scalers go to Clash?
So I think you're right in that sense. I think that the laning phase isn't the specialty of either of these teams. Actually, thinking about it, I think that both of these teams have strong individuals, but that doesn't always come in the early stages of the game. I think Paz on the side of Sengoku is actually the one real standout in that phase. He's been playing a lot of the Graves, that kind of smooths over your laning phase, and he's been doing really well at that front. When it comes into the team fights, I mean, if anyone saw Sengoku Burning Core, that matchup just continues to deliver in all the wrong ways. That was a very drawn-out affair. You're right, it wasn't actually landing all of the knockout punches in those team fights. Rascal Jester, I'm actually thinking about the DFM game where they were out team fought, thinking about it. And again, that's against the best team fighting team in the league. But there are some holes to be exploited there. So I'm interested in seeing how much they've kind of patched up those holes to come into this game, because obviously it is going to be a big part of it.
For sure, for sure. Definitely the team fighting. Gonna be looking at these two. It's oh my god, like laning phase be damned. They're just gonna get straight into it. Like you know there's probably gonna be some jungle pressure popping in, like the dragon fights, the dragon fights, the dragon fights. Oh my god, I'm so excited to get into those because both these teams in their wins were pretty much the only ones with monopoly on dragon for the entire game, save for that one very back and forth 8 dragon game that we had. So this is gonna be fun to watch. You know that laning phase break down into. All right, I have more CS than you. Let's start fighting everywhere else. So definitely looking forward to a lot of that and seeing how late can this game go.
Well, we will see how quick or how late, as you just said. We are going to be going into pick and bans though right away, so I'll leave you guys to deal with this game. It's going to be a banger. I hope you guys are excited in the stream, but let's get into it.
I'm excited. I'm always excited.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be great. Nightmare, I'm so excited to be
Oh
here. This
wow,
is
I'm
fun.
actually, and I'm also excited to be casting with actually just the Void. I don't
Yes.
know, maybe it came up to this point where you know, maybe you cloned yourself, so we had a murder of beautiful crows, and then you just disappeared from existence. Anyway, we're actually into picks and bans now. Where do you want to start?
Oh yeah. Okay. Off the table. Already see the Poppy ban and the Tryndamere ban. Respect. Get those two out of here as they have been running roughshod over multiple leagues across the world. The Zeri ban. All right. That's fine. That's fine. She's been showing up a bit.
It's a good red side ban.
Yeah. Good
It
red
is a
side
good
ban. Yeah.
red side ban. And I guess kind of going through all of this, you think, okay, actually, I know on the side of Rascal Jester did have a really good Tryndamere game, and that was into a Graves, which is Paz's comfort pick at the moment. So I think that's actually quite high value. Not going to quite talk about see, I don't like talking about hovers until they're locked in. Now, I know that Hatchemecha loves the Jins out. That'd be a great
Yeah.
takeaway. Once as an aggressive early jungler, it's a great pickup for them. But one thing which has slipped through is we were talking immediately off the bat, what's going to happen with the AD carries. Jinx and Aphelios are both left open.
They are. Both are left open. Not a single one landing in the ban bin in this first rotation. And I think they're waiting to see who's gonna get what first to try and go for some sort of counters. They're both gonna go and grab their junglers here. I'm assuming that's gonna be Volibear jungle, maybe
Yeah,
Volibear
almost
top,
certainly. Yeah.
but more certainly gonna be the jungle volley. And there's the Aphelios. Okay,
Okay, so I love this in so many ways,
okay.
because both of these junglers are ones which I consider to be some of our most aggressive early game, or at least creative early game pathers. In the side of Hatchemecha, I think Once is the aggressive one. Hatchemecha sometimes a bit more of the cerebral jungler. He tries to turn up where you don't expect him, but we put this we put the burden of carrying on to these AD carries. We said, you know what? You're both damn good. You're both MVP material. You at least were last split. And it was on these champions. We get ourselves a Felios. We get ourselves Jinx. This is exactly what I wanted to see from these players.
Oh yeah, yeah. We were talking about, oh, maybe they're gonna ban him out. Maybe they're gonna handshake it, go something different. They said, nah, forget all of that. We're out for blood off the bat. So gonna get the jungle picks out the way. Gonna get the 80 carry picks right out after. I love it so much. Now to see what's gonna round this out, looking like the Lulu.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, the Lulu to pair with the Jinx. Always good in hand.
So now I'm starting to think, okay, Nautilus, Thresh, both been pretty good aggressive lane partners with the Aphelios. Occasionally seeing some like
For sure.
Leona as well. What you want is something that can engage onto the Lulu early and kind of really just beat them up when Aphelios is really strong in the early laning phase as well. Jinx gets a lot of wave control, but you can start trying to kill the 2v2. However, Rascal Jesters, they're taking a bit of a different tack here. Now, I know it's something that you were saying about Recap as well, so credit for bringing that up in terms of the Vigar coming out from Recap and that being so strong. Now you're looking at this Xin Zhao trying to run forward aggressively into that cage. Really difficult, actually.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely that Event Horizon. Gonna stop a lot of upfront aggression. It's such a great zoning tool to use, and it's a great catch out tool as well. Gonna definitely force some flashes, force some summoners, some cooldowns to be used. And Rascal Jester right now with the popping off on this team composition, I'm really liking what I see so far. As we're getting this next phase of bans, we'll take the Rise off the table. Okay,
Okay,
so
so So the Rise taken off there, but I actually want to talk about this Graves ban because this is something which
Yes.
Paz has played an awful lot, and I kind of like the fact that Sengoku aren't actually banning out a lot of the supports. I think that if you double ban support, there is actually probably a third or fourth one which is still okay. Like I said, you could probably pick like Thresh, Aphelios, Nautilus alongside that, or something like Leona. So just in terms of basic maths, you can't get rid of all of them. So try and get something higher value off the table elsewhere. So Ino is not going to be able to play the perma push Graves and be able to allow Hachimecha on the volley bear early angles into the enemy jungle because he knows he's going to have one lane pushing. I'm really interested in seeing what Ino plays now at this point. On the other side, Recap banning out some of these mid laners which have a bit more ability to push in early. Veigar doesn't have that early lane control itself. That's what I'm feeling about all of these last bans actually. It's all about top lane, solo lane priority in the early lane.
For sure, yeah. Taking that Graves off the table, I do know both top laners did like to play it, and there's the Nautilus you had talked about. You're looking for a knot angle, we're gonna get a knot angle, Namera, and that's just another great initiative for them to have on the
Hang
side
on,
of
is the
RJ.
Nautilus angle just firing it within like a 90-degree arc and it's still hitting a champion because the hitbox
Yeah,
is too large? Is that
absolutely.
it? Good. Yeah, just
Absolutely.
checking we're on the same page.
Yeah, absolutely. You can throw it from downtown, it's gonna land up in blue, and you have no idea how because that hitbox is crazy. So there will be the Silas pickup.
Silas.
Okay.
Okay. So,
That's saucy.
we will talk a little bit more about this probably in early game because there's a lot I want to say about Silas, but I want to see how the team comps come out. It's pretty okay in stuff like the Veigar in terms of the laning phase. Obviously, you are low range again. Low range into Nautilus, Veigar, and the Volibear. Kind of difficult. Tom Kench means that we're going to get ourselves a top lane Lulu, probably. This is
Oh
a
my
big
goodness.
switch up. Okay, fair play, but Rascal Jester, as they see this now, do you have another hyper-pushing top laner that can go into top lane? Something like Gwen is still on the table. That's my first thoughts. That's also not bad into this composition. This is a really interesting switch up from Sengoku, not one which I would have really put towards them, because again, I feel like the Gwen just pushes into your Lulu, and you have a really difficult time trying to hold that top lane.
Yeah, the Lulu 1-2 switcheroo, not gonna lie, threw me off as well. Not the Gwen matchup. It's not the most fun time for her. Unless, are they gonna like? I highly
I don't
doubt.
think you can Tahm Kench top anymore. I don't
Yeah,
think
I
you can
don't
Tahm
think.
Kench top. I think this is almost certainly going to be the Lulu. And the problem is, if you're going towards Smite Lulu, and it's not, I mean, there is a slim chance that it's actually just a regular lane Lulu in the top side, but either way, feels like Gwen will eventually just run you down. And if you want to leave lane, Gwen is a very good tower pusher. So
Mhm.
keep your eyes on that. Keep your eyes on how the teams play around having this void of pressure in the top side, because the Lulu's not going to be there that often.
Yeah, it's definitely a new look for Sengoku to put out. And hmm, see, I had some like ideas of what they were gonna do as my camera wants to completely devolve on
You
itself.
returned from the void, but only half of you has.
Only half of me, I got the whole Yami Bakura half face going on. Okay, so look at the
I
compositions.
appreciate that a lot. I appreciate that.
Look at the compositions. It's just really interesting. Like we were all like, "Oh, we know what's gonna happen. We know what Paz is gonna do. It's gonna be dope." And then Lulu,
Nope.
and we're like,
Then literally happened.
all right,
Okay.
this is gonna be fun." So,
So, I'm going to teach you a little hint about what I do in casting. Is what I do is I'll say something and I'll try and connect all of the points together, so all of it builds into one thing. We mentioned about
okay,
both of these bot laners being incredibly strong. We
yes.
talked about kill pressure and all this other stuff. We talked about Paz being okay in the laning phase, but he basically has non-interactive lanes he was building Hullbreaker. Now, if you're building something like a Smite on the Lulu and you're leaving top lane to go help bot lane, that absolutely helps the identity of we're going to win through bot and help our hyper carry. Let's see now, let's track as this game goes on, who actually gets these early advantages in bot side and how they're going to arrange that, because once is getting caught early and that's not going to
Oh
help at all.
no. Well, yeah, there's something that's not gonna help. It's walking right into a brush full of 5 enemy members, and that's not a great start, Sengoku.
Nope, that is one of the very worst starts you could have, because one of the things you want to do with, and it is going to be a Smite top lane Lulu, is you want to leave the top lane, you want to go help out your jungler, you want to roam to your other lanes, and get stuff started early. If you're giving over an early kill to the Aphelios of all things, who's starting with a double longsword now, who's going to be building into something like a Noon Quiver very, very early at this point, your wave control is going to be a lot less once he gets that item. Sengoku are going to really struggle, but they're not done yet. They're looking for something here.
Oh man. They're gonna try and play some Metal Gear Solid, sneaking into the Rascal Jester blue side and try to get something up. But yeah, I highly doubt anyone's gonna be there after that first blood they're gonna grab. And yeah, I'm talking about it. The double longsword start is gonna prove to be quite the uphill for Honey to get through. As we're looking at the runes coming out here, and yeah, just Smite top on this Lulu, playing that second support, extra strong shields, and just the duo of death roaming around. As we're gonna get a look at the graph here. Okay.
Yeah, there is a graph, there's all of this stuff, but you know what? I'm not bloody interested in it because Paz has gone and smited the first buff. This is very lane swap meta from your season 5, 6, 7. If you didn't watch back then, effectively you'd have someone teaming up with your jungler to double jungle. But what's happened is you got a very early level 3 on Jinzao, and they get to be able to dive a level 1 bot lane.
Oh, Jeff, just play safe, guys. It's okay. As their dive does come in, immediate return, getting that kill credit onto Honey, Sengoku. That's exactly what you need to get back in this game. Now, let's see if they can get away. The TP was committed here. Try and jump up forward. Everybody's pretty low. The blue buff will help out for cooldown.
Everyone's here.
Oh no, everyone is here. It's a party in bot lane, baby. As we will get another kill credit transferred over. Ooh, great reply from Rascal Jester, but man...
It is, because you look at how Sengoku tried to go towards that bot lane dive. Very, very clearly wanted to get an advantage in jungle, get a quick level 3, use the Jin Zhao's early power spike to dive that Aphelios who got the lead. This is exactly how it ends up. You can see that at level 3. It's not even on the second wave complete from Sol and Secret at this point. They don't even get to kill the minions quick enough under tower to get themselves level 2. I think they were just about 1 minion off. Such a sad situation for them. But the response from Rascal Jester is timely. They do use the defensive teleports. We don't see a lot of aggressive teleports and dives anymore, but you can still go towards your own tower for 14 minutes even after the teleport changes, and they use that effectively to kind of nullify the advantage which Sengoku had tried so hard to get.
Right, yeah, no unleashed teleport, no problem. Yeah, gonna use that defensive teleport just to get in and shore up the differences, you know, get that man advantage to get back to equal. Very nice job of them from Rascal Jester to realize that they can react that fast to get that, and for Secret to get that return kill, that flash hook from the Nautilus, you know, talking about those hitboxes, it worked out in this case. And Rascal Jester just playing not reactive, but, you know, a little preemptive, because they must have factored in, okay, the Lulu Smite is going to be everywhere. We have to look out everywhere. And the timing on that teleport in response was so clean from them.
It was. And kind of, yeah, see some stuff in their mid lane, but I do really want to touch again, because let's be honest, we've talked, all of this game has been about who's actually getting leads in bot lane. Plays have come out from both sides, both are even, but Recap is the one getting caught.
Oh no, Recap has to flash over. Great baby cage put down to throw up the distance, but the Abyssal Dive comes up, and yeah, that's gonna be the flash forced out from the Volibear. And does he skirmishes all focus on this bot side? We were saying it's going to be a very bot focused matchup, but I didn't think it's going to be bot focused like this.
But this is the name tags you have on these AD carries. Everything has to revolve around them, because if they get gold, they are some of the very best at carrying. It's continuing again.
Oh man, Abyssal Dive in division and still lands. We'll just walk it out though. That's he's alive. Wait a minute, you can't let him get away with this. So you do have
They're still stuck under the tower.
The wave isn't there, and here comes Recap just waddling back down in the lane. They know they're all sitting there under the bush waiting for this wave to come in.
Oh, there's the kill. They're excited.
Honey will snipe. They're getting excited coming in the double kill. Make it 3-4-none as make it a return on. Yes, okay, that will be Recap getting the shutdown onto once. But yeah, just waiting for the wave to come and jumping straight in. Hachimecha was dead to rights on that 1 HP Volibear, and Sengoku just had to play the waiting game to walk it down.
This is such an interesting game to watch, because you see Hachimecha just escape, and then realize, hang on, this is just a ticking time bomb for Jinx to get excited, to get that passive, and run down everyone else. Once again, Rascal Jester get something in return, but after such a good start, is now the Aphelios out on two deaths, and the Jinx on 2-0 and 2. How does this start? It starts once again with the wrecking ball of Jin Zhao on the bottom jungle, level 4, double buffs, out-leveling the Volibear, who can't go towards that fight. And Rascal Jesters don't have the teleport from the Gwen this time. They don't have the ability to run down the extended fight. And you can just see as the wave gets pushed in, it's sharks circling the water. There's blood everywhere, and Rascal Jesters, they've tried so hard to try and stabilize whatever the hell's happened in this early game. It's not quite worked out for them.
Man, Namera, it's kind of hilarious. We're talking about starting off. It's like, oh no, accidentally we had once just get absolutely caught out and destroyed. But then they're like, hey, what if we just keep diving them over and over? And it's worked out twice in a row now. Sure, Ino's in the top lane getting a bunch of farm and hard pushing that tower, but we knew that was going to happen. We knew that was going to be the nature of this matchup. So seeing Sengoku just prioritize everywhere else on the map is something to be expected, and it's working out in their favor. And the gold is basically tied at this point, slight lead for Sengoku.
It is. But when we're talking about the gold being tied, not all gold leads are the same, because this is one with a free top lane being pushed. There is 2 farm and level 2 onto Paz as Lulu. They are not being part of a laning phase, so Rascal Jesters are going to get themselves gold advantages elsewhere. Actually, let's track and see if there's any point where gold bounties start turning up too, whether that's on the Gwen or in terms of objective bounties, because that's one of the real turnaround effects of having something like a Smite top laner. You did talk about, of course, a lot of that gold, but let's talk about the objectives too, because we see that a dragon was taken for Sengoku. They get themselves another objective there. It's a recall stopping ultimate from Jinx, once again just being like, hey Sol, I see you there. Stops the recall, and as much as there was a rotation to get an early tower from Rascal Jesters, get that gold particularly onto that Aphelios too. Okay, let's track that again. More gold onto these AD carries. Whoop-de-doo. That's going to be incredible to see in these team fights. But Sengoku are still the ones who are first out onto the map and first to the Herald.
Yep, first to the Herald. They are starting it off, and it's going down rather fast as here comes the engage from
watch chat.
They're funneling straight into the meat grinder, though. Oh my goodness, the damage comes down. Honey free firing on the back line, completely untouched. The man's still full health, and he's just going to play cleanup duty as once jumps in, flashes right back out. And just in that exchange, we were talking about, you saw the free firing from Honey, the damage he was able to pump out there. Whew. Absolutely.
That was crazy, because that ends up in being, a 2-for-1 to the side of Rascal Jester, who are the team who was like, okay, gave a lot of gold up to that Jinx. Maybe they're starting to fall behind in this game. Gold leads, what does that matter against a Smite top lane? Let's see how this obviously erupts. Jet has a great position in this fight and gets a 3-man central volley bear ult. Absolutely absurd. It is onto a Vigar ult, and that buys just enough time for Sol to start stacking up the Severum Crescendum combo when you have the chakrams flying everywhere as your arms just fly out in all directions. But as we can see, the early gold being injected into these carries means that they are bloody, they're explosive, and they're very short.
Absolutely, putting the carry and AD carry for sure. And that last fight was I really felt it could have gone the way of Sengoku more so if they just, tweaked it just a little bit. Maybe a different target selection from Jet. That's neither here nor there, though, as we're talking about how Sol went complete Beyblade mode and just short up any sort of advantage that we're going to have in that fight. The Herald was picked up by Sengoku, though. That's really good to just add to more of their pushing power to break these towers open and break the map some more and just continue to completely dominate the rotations side of the map.
Okay, so let's go check in with some of our big carries again, because we've been talking about the AD carries, and we will continue to do that. This Gwen is about to pop their cull. They picked up the cull early because they knew they were going to have a free lane, and they've done... Whoa, okay, I mean, Jet has the Vigar ultimate. This could be a kill.
Forcing the flash. Very good job there.
So let's not just talk about the Gwen, talk about the Sylas as well, both looking very strong as respective solo laners across the Rift.
Yeah, he's 0, 1, and 4, but that damage is not negligible at all, as they are going to go and drop the Herald down here, break open this bot tower, and you see it, there's just 4 of them all just staying in a pack, and Jet just off doing his own thing. He's like, all right, guys, y'all have fun down there. I got mid, no worries. Just ping me if you need me.
But the thing is that, if it's going to be ping me if you need me, that's what they've been doing the entire game. Essentially, you must wait until issuing additional pings, because they've been to bot lane so many times. It's the scene of the crime, it's the scene of the murder, and Rascal Justice finally let that tower go. But a lot of that gold is sitting once again on the hyper carries pockets of Sengoku. So we have side lanes starting to open up at this point. Plates around for another minute or two. The Herald's already down. Question is, what is going to be the next real calling card for both of these teams? You don't have an obvious dive threat at this point from Sengoku, as much as you'd like to start trying to hammer down on the Aphelios again. I don't think Sengoku are going to have as easy a time of it. So for me, what I'm looking to see is if Sengoku starts stalling out a little bit now, and what their options are.
Oh no. Speaking of options, I know he doesn't seem to be out of them. Has the Ghost available in, I think, 2 seconds.
I don't know. It's going to be another re-up here.
It's going to jump in. Oh, yeah. As soon as it comes up, he's going to use it. He's going to speed out of there. No danger at all. Just, chilling. Have the TP if necessary.
Well,
and
I mean, that was very, very close from being in no danger at all to, wow, I'm really in danger. Because the Vigar ult timed out like a second or two too early. Because it works off of missing HP, the lower HP you are, the more it executes. Very lucky from Ino to get out of that alive. Burns the Ghost, does have the teleport still, as does Jet. So that could have meant there could have been another big play coming in towards the Dragon. But it's still before 14 minutes, not able to teleport absolutely everywhere on the map just yet. Sengoku claim a second Dragon, and it's the Hextech Rift with the outer towers down in top and bot lane. Actually, those gates are going to be quite important, because if you've got this Gwen pushing up again, and someone gates in behind them, that's going to be changing the way you have to play this lane. The same goes, of course, on the other side. If Sengoku send anyone to an open side lane in that top lane.
Absolutely. The Hextech Rift definitely lends more #winning ability to the team that is ahead, especially as crazy as Sengoku's been playing with how much they've been around the map, so they can definitely utilize those teleporters to get around the map a lot faster and a lot more effectively. Get these flanks, get these ambush 2v1 skirmishes that they're going to want to get, because I do feel like we're approaching that point in the game where Rascal Jester's 5v5 could prove to be a bit more deadly than Sengoku's, just by the nature of the champions that they do have. The Nautilus doing all the CC, the Volibear jumping in, Hachimecha can just jump in onto multiple people, and the only quote-unquote tanks that you have are Inti on the Tom Kinch, and then once on the Xin Zhao.
I mean, Jezza ultimate makes you pretty tanky, especially against the long-range carries, but we'll see how tanky everyone's going to be, as it seems like we have another fight brewing. It's a top lane this time.
Oh man, 2 fights on 2 fronts, as we do have a split map, but yeah, the top lane does look to be the focus. Is going to steal the ultimate. Oh, Jet once again has a volley ultimate, but the TP will be called from Rascal Jester here, leaving Soul all alone in this mid lane with a very hungry Kench rocking at him.
So that's actually really interesting. I was like, oh, there's going to be a tower dive. This is going to be great. And then you realize when the Volibear ult is stolen, you can use the stolen Volibear ult to also turn off those towers. I hadn't even considered that at this point. Yeah. But because the way this map has turned out with these the Sengoku bot lane outer tower, the Rascal Jester top lane outer tower being the next points of contention, that could be really, really important. And what a great game it is to see these teams problem solving their way through this early game. What a crazy way to play out this game between maybe our second best teams in the region. We know that DFM is strong. We know that they're looking towards these teams, though, as probably their biggest competition. And this is not disappointing at all.
For sure, and we were talking about it in draft and pregame, looking towards more so the team fighting timeline of this match and how it's going to devolve into something of that nature, and watching how this early game was going to go. It definitely didn't go the way I expected it to, but for them to be
you and me both, buddy.
It's essentially even across the board in kills and gold, just in different ways and in different pockets, this is an even head-to-head game for the second place spot.
It is, and now we have to look up and see, okay, what are the roles of each of these players? Who are going to be the main characters in this game? We talked about the bot laners, yes, we talked about Ino, and Ino actually I want to dig in a little bit deeper on, because Ino was the weak side player for all of last year on Axes. He played with Honey. This is a bit of an old teammate face-off. These were two players on what I would have said in terms of 2021 Axes, the second best team in the region. Well, funnily enough, now they're fighting up for that same kind of spot behind DFM for another year in a row. And Ino on a very different role to what he was last year. He's on this Gwen, and while he did have a couple of good games on it, I loved his Renekton on weak side. I loved his Gangplank as well. Now given a lot of resources and a chance to really shine, it's great to see now if he's actually taken a step beyond and started to flourish with those resources too.
for sure, last year was the growth year. This year's my villain arc, as you know, most of the kids say nowadays. I know, looking to show Honey is like, hey man, you were great, but I'm pretty great too. As
What would your villain origin story be? Would it? I know what mine is. Mine was Burning Core Sengoku from last split. But what would make you into a real villain?
well, to be honest, my villain origin story happened in 2014 LCS
Oh yeah.
Spring. That 80-minute game between Complexity and Curse.
Oh, Complexity! Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that's a huge throwback. But I remember that. That
Yeah,
was a
man.
legendary one.
I was yelling at
Okay,
my computer
well-
screen, and I was like, "There's no way League can get worse than this," and somehow it did. But speaking back to this game, with some good League of Legends here, some team fighting action in the mid lane, and everybody's getting away. Once again, Hachimecha just keeps living off of like 2 HP. Maybe he'll get sniped out looking for Honey, but. Nah,
Yeah,
he's
where's
gonna
that Jinxol? Where's that Jinxol?
Oh.
There's a smite. That means that Hachimecha is going to be healing up, but they're still not in position to defend this tower. Second Herald goes down. Mid lane tower in danger.
Very much. And Shelly's going to get a charge off. They will be able to take her down before they do crack that tower open. 13 seconds till Hextech Drake, and RJ looking a little worse for wear here. A lot of cooldowns used, a lot of summoners still available, luckily enough for RJ, but the re-engage is more so on the side of Sengoku here, should they choose to go in. But pushing, they're probably
It
going to
is. But one thing I want to... Okay, there's the cage. Let's think about this
no.
fight.
Oh no, so there's a re-engage. Hachimecha once again living through all of that. The ultimate comes down from Sol as he pushes forward. Not gonna be able to pick up any kills. Nobody is dying in these fights, Namera. Oh man, we see Secret get tagged.
Really close run affair because the Tom Kench ult saves the Jinx in that last fight. As soon as Sol pops that Chakram ult, though, very hard to stand and fight. He doesn't have it for a Drake contest right now if they were to choose to go to it. Though that rocket did a lot of damage.
Checking TP on the backside though. Jet is TPing behind enemy line. Jumps in, will get immediately collapsed on. Jumping over is once as well. Will claim Secret's life as the re-engage is still there, and Aino will return favor onto Jet. As it's just a 1-for-1 and low health bars all around, but Sengoku are on the run, and here comes Aino charging in.
Oh,
On the
once!
backside though, manages to jump in and get himself a double. He's still alive, fading fast, and he will drop down. Look at the DPS coming out from Honey, this super fed Jinx doing super fed things, and that's Sengoku cleaning up the fight for a basically a delayed ace, and they're picking up their.
That is gonna be... That's gonna be the sole point as well. That's 3 dragons. They picked up all of them, and where the hell do we start dissecting this? We saw Act 1. We saw the fighting that over mid lane priority. It was all about trying to play around the baby cage from Vigar. This time, though, it's the teleports which swing things around. Jet comes in from the back of this, from a ward which is hidden just behind that wolf pit, of course, but doesn't actually manage to get as clean a kill combo as they would like. They don't manage to get the 2 kills, and it's going to be Recap, really, that punishes them from going a little too far. Then Aino enters the fray. We talked about this Gwen being really, really important in terms of the amount of gold that they have, but Aino isn't able to DPS down Honey. Honey is still sat here, still firing out rockets, and Gwen has used a lot of the damage at this point. Aino doesn't find the right angle. Jet kind of does, and I mean, one AD carry dies, one of them lives. That tends to be the story of big team fights.
Yeah, and it was just a little bit of an awkward re-engage there by Recap, as he didn't really have a lot of mana to work with when he decided to flash in an Everfrost to try to get that stun off, and just immediately got collapsed on, breaking the formation that they had when they were coming down there. Had they maybe decided to peel off instead of going completely in, I don't know who's calling what, RJ might have actually won that fight, but Honey...
Oh, so
that
close.
damage. Oh my goodness, that damage was insane. As we're back to the mid lane here, gonna try and play some good old NA RAM as they're trying to crack those mid towers.
Honey's
The baby
corp.
cage
They
comes
have
out.
the ults.
Ooh, good old Tom Kench, baby. Fires
Oh,
back
yes, with the ults!
with the fadeaway rocket. Just gonna take Recap back to Gray Screen City as they're pushing.
Can I just say, I am so glad to see Honey back on form. 6-0-2. The hyper carry of Japan is back. They're back towards the Baron. They pick up themselves a massive pick. They're going to get themselves a Baron. Now, the question is, how much can Rascal Jester take while they're finishing that objective?
Well, this looking like they're trying to get 2 towers, call it Lord of the Rings, as Aino is going to have some solo time with his inhibitor. They managed to get the Baron, sure, Sengoku, but they're going to lose a good bit off the map from it. Aino going to run for his life, maybe meet his team back towards red buff as the push down mid starts here. Just a pretty decent trade on the side of RJ, unless, you know, Sengoku decides to push more. But it looks like they're going to take the Baron and a tower for their trouble. and get out. But wait, no.
Oh,
Ooh,
Jet's
Jet gets
caught.
caught. Oh, has to volley ult out. Will miss off from Hachimecha's re-engage. And okay, he's out with his life. But man, that was a close situation.
So close. Because you can see what Rascal Jesters are trying to do. They're saying, okay, you're getting the Baron, but we can try and punish the fact that you don't have waves in the right place. This is exactly what Tom Kench is here for. In the meantime, though, on this replay, and I mean, Honey, he's putting on an absolute show for us. That was a great ult. Just the great calculation.
That's so unfortunate though, because if Hachimecha didn't move in front of Recap would have lived. The rocket would have missed him. It was a splash damage that killed him, the max range splash damage from the Jinx rocket.
Scumbag Hachimecha.
Right. He's like, I'm living through all these engages, but Recap, not so much, buddy.
Okay. All right. So, really interesting thing coming out from Honey now as well. I was actually wondering if he was going to go towards this item because he's picked up a Storm Razor third.
Yes.
When you have the Fire Cannon and you have the rockets, the Storm Razor slow on that auto becomes really, really nasty when you're playing around priority in the mid lane. You're fighting over those waves. One straight auto attack can really hurt this Rascal Jester's lineup. Now, once again, Gwen is split from the team, has a teleport, has a ghost, is pushing in a side lane. Rascal Jester just trying to hold on for dear life in the mid lane though, because they're not winning in this 4v4.
Yeah, the 4v4 right now is nigh impossible, almost as a 5v5 is. They are going to continue pushing on his mid tower. Just the amount of just backup that Honey has, you know, with the Tom Kench from NC, with the Lulu from Paz, has the, you know, the Shurelias with all of that boosted up onto this 602 Jinx. It's so difficult to push in on any sort of objective or defend any sort of objective, is you have this super roided up star magical girl running at you with multiple guns saying, fight me, I dare you.
And speaking of fight me, I dare you, look at that top left corner. That is, well, look at both top corners actually. That's a Baron which is timing off. So, but that is just going to be overlapping with the Dragon Spawn for the Hextech Soul. Rascal Jesters feels like they have one more chance to finish off this fight. Jet steals the Nautilus ultimate. It's another engage option. And Rascal Jesters, they need to find a good pick to start this fight, because I think if they go into the 5v5, we talked about the bot lane resources, we talked about our hyper carries and our MVP material.
Oh, y'all don't want to walk like that.
We need to see Rascal Jesters try and take a pick.
Oh man, they're all grouping up straight together here, straight 5v5 bodies on top of each other. Jet has a clear angle on the side. The engage comes in. Nautilus ult flashes straight in. Oh, that's so much damage as everybody's falling left and right on the side of Rascal Jesters. Once is just on a rampage, jumping straight in, and Honey off the back line will manage to zap Hachimecha, not getting out alive on this time, and Jet, the man with the plan, making it happen, as this is a
he makes it happen,
soul.
And it's gonna get them the soul. That's the huge factor in this fight. You see what happens. You can see the Rascal Jesters know that they need to get the first kill, but they leave themselves open to a flank. Jet cuts them down. I'm gonna go back to see how it happens in that replay. I really want to praise actually Jet and Once in this fight, because I think that Once has such a disruptive fight for the backline as well. Jet skirts around the vision. That's one thing about approaching these objectives hastily, like Rascal Jesters had to. You sometimes have some holes in your net, and this hole is big enough to let this team fight slip through it. Look at how Once dives into the backline too, gets right into the thick of things. It's Jet, it's Honey, it's Once. They're making an absolute mess of Rascal Jesters in these team fights.
Oh my goodness. NC living off of that is actually a crime. Man, Tom Kench is a champion, I tell you what.
Wait, I've never heard of someone like not being murdered being a crime before. Normally you assume that them being murdered is the actual problem.
I don't know, punishing for living can definitely be a thing if your name is Thomas Kenchis, the evil catfish. This man, like, he could not have had over 2 digits of HP there, and he's just like, yeah, I'm good, great health, whatever. But just look at that engage, like Jet stealing Secret's Nautilus ultimate. Nah, that was so smart. The planning way ahead of time, getting either, you know, Hachimecha or Secret's ultimates there, super key, and getting around vision like that. Like Rascal Jester just funneling straight down towards Dragon.
Okay, there's gonna be a bait cage here.
Stopping my point. Hey, stopwatches. Okay, cool. But here comes the TP once again. Jet gonna jump right into the thick of things. He will go and stasis himself, or rather Hachimecha will have to, and will get dropped down. Paz somehow gets the kill credit from that. Okay, as Soul jumping forward, gonna ult, doesn't have the greatest gun combination.
Oh, okay, here comes Once.
Oh, But once we'll shut it down. No party for Rascal Jester, just going straight in the bin as Honey's gonna net up, just gonna pad the KD8 a little bit more. 9-0.
And that's going to be the game you have to feel. That has to be the game. Sengoku, they pull out a fight when they're approaching the top side, maybe setting up towards Baron. Rascal Jesters again, too hasty in how they approach the team fights, and Sengoku will stand alone in second place.
Yeah, it's all up to Recap as he watches the rest of his base melt under gunfire and smoke and spells from Sengoku Gaming as they will claim the second place spot here in this fourth game of the day.
And what a game it was. It was crazy from start to finish, right from that level 1, once getting picked off. Leading into really strange map states, they still hammered home on that bot lane. They stuck clear to their game plan, their objectives of getting the Jinx ahead. And who better to pilot it than this monster of a carry of Honey? Jet continues to impress. Honey continues to impress. Once with probably his best game under his belt too. And now you look at Rascal Jesters, or at least I am particularly, and I'm sat there thinking, you actually had a pretty good crack at that early game yourselves, but you were just outclassed when it came to the game plan overall.
Yeah, we clowned him a little bit for that initial level 1 mishap that happened for Sengoku, but apparently it was all according to plan, all according to Kikaiku as it goes, and it was just like, from that one blip, they're just like, all right, cool, we're just gonna out-rotate you at every turn. Like, everywhere you go, there's gonna be 2-3 people run up in your jungle, just taking whatever you want. Oh, that's a nice neutral objective.
That's a great camp you've got there. Mind if I have that? But we're gonna go. What we're gonna do is we're gonna bring in J-Real after a quick break. There's lots to talk about in this game. We're gonna do a post-game breakdown. So join us in just a few minutes.
Hello, we are back, and I hope you guys at home have had a little bit of time to cool down after such an explosive game. We're going to break it all down right here. We talked about maybe Sengoku being a little bit shaky, but they proved to stand firm, and what a way to do it. And let's start where it all began. You know, early game, obviously Xin Zhao getting caught out, but this two-man jungle moving in with the invade, it brought back a lot of horror stories for me from 3v3 carry meta. I didn't really like seeing that again, but what's your take on it now, Mira? Because it seemed to work out really well.
Okay, so the level 1 was obviously not according to plan. I can understand that they wanted to get some early jungle information. I feel like you got to do that on bot side rather than top side, though, which is exactly what they ended up doing afterwards. So once goes down very easily, but then we can see the power of taking a smite top laner and effectively double jungling. Hachimecha got completely out-leveled in the early game because once was sat there on a hugely power farmed early level 3 Xin Zhao, and that allowed them to hit their real target of that bot lane, which we know was going to be a highlight when you've got those two champions, you've got those two players. I loved the plan which Sengoku came into. As much as it wasn't as clean as it could have been, I love the idea.
Yeah, and I guess we can talk about the tower diving as well, because not only were they able to obviously starve away the jungle, the camps and all of that, but they had some really clinical tower dives, especially the one at 5 minutes where they were able to stall out for long enough, bring that wave in and then bring them through. And Beautiful, I want to come to you with that early game point as well of what have Sengoku done with this smite, top, the other teams maybe haven't done to give them such an advantage?
Well, for one, they played coherently, so that's a plus. It was just, oh my god, it was so
No,
smart.
chill.
It was so smart. Like they're like, all right, we know we want to get Honey ahead. We know we want to make this man crazy, and they're like, all right, Paz, hey, just come walk with me a bit. Just tag along with once, and just always making sure they had the man advantage and the vision advantage whenever they would be going for these neutral camps and these objectives, just making sure that they could just permagank essentially any member on Rascal Jester at any point wherever they were. Like Hachimecha effectively could not play the early game with how much he was getting jumped and how much his camps were getting stolen by this roaming duo of Paz and Once.
Yeah, indeed, and obviously we had some star moments from different players, and I feel like one to talk about is definitely the TPs. Jet had some really clutch TPs, and obviously I know that you guys were kind of talking about it backstage, so I'm not going to long on this point too much, but I remember obviously there was the difference between Jet TPs, I know TPs.
Yeah, and I think that we can kind of almost talk about like both solo lanes in this regard, because it's kind of like, because obviously the Lulu doesn't really count, but you look at how Jet was finding a way into the backline, and yes, a lot of that is also going to be on the draft as well, but he was very quickly getting onto the carries, getting the right ultimates, and getting out. I mean, I loved him switching between the Nautilus ult, switching between that and the Volibear ult. That first fight at the Herald, even though that went against Sengoku, was a really good use of that ultimate. On the other side, you know that Gwen needs a bit more setup. You can't do all of your own stunts if people are running away from you. You need people to run into you. And I know had so much of the early gold that if you're not making that land, there's a big difference in terms of like the actual efficiency of how you're using resources. I feel like Jet had a fantastic game. He might not show in the KDA, but arguably Jet is the MVP of this game. He had insane team fights, and considering the situation he had to work with, that is incredibly impressive to work with.
Yeah, indeed. And I want to quickly bring up, because we've talked about this again, but the Veigar, it didn't really get off the ground. And Beautiful, do you feel like that was just because they played so well, or because the Veigar just wasn't able to really do what he needed to do?
I do feel it's a little bit of both. I do feel that Recap was not able to get going in the way that you would want, because Veigar wants to scale, wants to take his time, wants to control the pace, and Sengoku were the ones controlling the pace of the game essentially. They were the ones pushing play. They were the ones who were able to make the first moves effectively, and Rascal Jester had to react to a lot and play defense a lot of the time. And normally you'd be like, okay, cool, setting up the space, controlling the area, really good for a Veigar, but it just was not working out. And talking about the TPs, the uses of the flanks and whatnot, Jet being able to get around everyone, and just like you saw that Recap was really trying to put a lot of the mid game on his back, because Soul was not allowed to play League of Legends this game, as you could see, and it just was not, the magic was not happening for Rascal Jester, unfortunately for Recap.
Yeah, and obviously we have to talk about it. Winnie the Pooh would have loved this game because Honey was everywhere. And I'm going to let you both say your piece on this one. Amira, kick it off, though. What a great performance for him.
What is hilarious about that is that you might not know this, but 2 years ago in Honey's very first split, when he debuted as a pro player in the LJL, his support on the Hawks was called Pooh. Now, Pooh sadly was actually not that good on anything outside of Braum, and they didn't have the best split. But he lives on in spirit, because what a sweet game this was from Honey. This was very much put all the resources into the Jinx, let them pop off. But I can't think of another player in the LGL that I'd want to give those resources to more. Honey has continued to grow year upon year, and this game, I even loved like his item build, knowing that he has enough damage already, going towards the Storm Razor and the Fire Cannon. That was a really intelligent build. I love the way that this player plays, and doing this against what might have been the best 2v2 in the whole league of Sol and Secret is insanely impressive to see. I love this Sengoku lineup. As much as they've had some duff games, if this is how they manage to play and how they manage to fit into this meta with so many hyper carries, they are such an exciting team to watch and expect to see them in the high end of playoffs.
Yeah, indeed. And with that, we are going to close this roundup of this game. We are going to go to a short break, but coming back, we will have Axis versus Burning Core. You don't want to miss it.